It's May 3rd, 1946. A 17-year-old boy is strapped into Louisiana's portable electric chair.
Willie was put in the chair. And I'll tell you, we all was out there praying, and the Lord answered our prayer.
A machine known as Gruesome Gertie. His arms are bound, his legs too. A hood is placed over his face. The boy's name is Willie Francis. And in just moments, he's supposed to die.
Willie Francis, to be 16, to be in the hands of these men, all white men, any pictures you see of executions in those days when they had the portable electric chair.
The switch is thrown. A surge of 2,000 volts floods his body. He screams, but he doesn't die. The execution fails. Smoke rises. His body convulses.
It's all white men standing around carrying out the execution of this young black man. He was totally powerless in their hands. And so what recourse did he have?
Witnesses say he shouted, "Take it off! Let me breathe," as sparks flew from the headpiece. Eventually, the current is cut. Officials retreat, and somehow, against every physical expectation,
They thought of him as disposable human waste, and that's the way they treated him.
Willie Francis is still alive. This is the true story of a boy who survived the electric chair and what happened when the state decided to try again.
Louisiana is different from other southern states in a lot of ways, but probably the biggest difference is, unlike the other southern states, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants are in the minority in Louisiana.
2 years earlier, in 1944, a local pharmacist named Andrew Thomas was found shot to death in St. Martinville, Louisiana. He was a white man, a respected businessman in the community.
St. Martinville was not a place where a black defendant was automatically guilty. And that's not a guess. I mean, that happened, and it happened before the Willie Francis trial.
For nearly a year, the case remained unsolved. In August 1945, police arrested Willie Francis, a 16-year-old black teenager.
Willie's an interesting kid. What I found most interesting was that nobody really said a harsh thing about him in all the interviews that I came across.
And accused him of the murder. They claimed to have found Thomas's wallet in his possession, but no forensic evidence ever linked Willie to the crime. The murder weapon? A gun that belonged to the local deputy's assistant.
There was a gun that was found at the murder scene. It wasn't Willie's gun. Willie never owned a gun.
A fact that was never explained in court. Willie was interrogated for hours without a lawyer. Eventually, he signed 2 written confessions, both likely under duress.
I know that Willie was not guilty of that. Willie was not guilty of that murder. There was never no evidence that Willie did that.
At trial, his court-appointed defense presented no witnesses, no objections, no cross-examination. The jury was all white. Deliberation lasted less than an hour. He was sentenced to death.
How tragic it was that Willie's lawyers didn't make any attempt at all to defend him, because you had an all-white jury.
On the day of the execution, the electric chair had been set up by a prison guard. He was drunk. The equipment wasn't tested.
So when they strapped him in the chair, they probably had to put the straps very, very tight because his wrists were so slender. Probably his feet didn't even touch the floor.
Willie was placed in the chair, the current activated. And what followed was not justice. It was chaos.
And also the whole issue that only poor people are selected for the death penalty. It is so blatant at this point.
Burns scarred his arms and legs. His body trembled for hours afterward. But he was alive. And now the state faced an unprecedented question. If a person survives execution, do you try again?
And they thought nothing of this because in their minds they've already turned a switch, and it's what makes the execution of human beings possible.
The case drew national attention. A young lawyer named Bertrand de Blanc filed appeals all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Even given the chance to go out and play with a lot of children his age, he would rather stay home and do a lot of housework and help his mom with the chores. His mother was bedridden at the time.
He argued that a second execution would violate the Constitution. Both the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment and the Fifth Amendment's protection against double jeopardy.
And so inside, they begin to die. I'm sure inside, young Willie must have thought, I don't have a chance. I don't have a chance. They're going to kill me.
The Supreme Court disagreed. In a 5-4 ruling, they stated that the first attempt was a mechanical failure, not a fulfilled sentence.
They turned the switch. He's not a human being the way we are.
Therefore, the state had every right to try again. During the appeal process, more irregularities came to light. The murder weapon had disappeared from evidence.
It was later identified it was somebody else's gun, but it was stolen.
Andrew Thomas's body had never been properly examined. Key testimony had been ignored. And nobody explained why the gun used to kill Thomas belonged to the local deputy's assistant. But none of it mattered. The court upheld the conviction.
And if you're poor and you have defense attorneys appointed to you who do nothing, the bad thing for the whole system, including the jurors, is you can't get the truth.
Willie Francis was sent back to the chair exactly 1 year after the failed attempt, May 9th, 1947. This time, the machine worked. His last words were quiet, spoken to a journalist who had covered the case. I'm going to meet the Lord with my Sunday pants on and my Sunday heart.
And also he played with a lot of younger children. He was known for making little clothespin toys for these poor children in the neighborhood.
He was 18 years old. The execution of Willie Francis remains one of the most haunting legal events in U.S. history. Not just because a child was sentenced to death. Not just because he survived it once.
He has to try to deal inside his young mind with what they're doing to him and how it's going to hurt his mom and his daddy.
But because, when the system had a chance to reconsider, it chose to finish what it started. Willie was buried in an unmarked grave. There was no funeral, no obituary, no closure. Years later, a small plaque was added. It reads, Willie Francis, 1929 to 1947, killed by the state of Louisiana. Twice. His case is still studied in law schools, still debated in courtrooms, still whispered about in the long history of American executions. And it leaves us with one final question. If a man survives his own death sentence, is it justice to try again? Or is it something else entirely?